For pyramids, they've been telling us they were built in Egypt and Mexico, which is wrong, because they were built all over the planet. That almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids.
In the quiet hills of Bosnia, a discovery was made that, if true, could rewrite everything we know about human history. A series of massive pyramid-shaped hills near the town of Visoko sparked wild claims, older than Egypt, taller than Giza, and built by a lost civilization no one remembers.
These stone blocks were man-made. The pyramid was built from scratch. Who did it? The history does not have good answers. I think we are at the beginning of rediscovering long-lost knowledge.
Mainstream science called it a hoax. Others swear it's the real deal. So what's actually buried beneath Bosnia's soil? Let's dig into it. More than just hills, the puzzle of Bosnia's pyramids. It all started in 2005, when a Bosnian-American businessman and amateur archaeologist named Semir Osmanagic visited the small town of Visoko, just outside Sarajevo. He wasn't there to shake up the world. He was just curious about a hill known locally as Visočica, which locals had always assumed was just that, a hill. But Osmanagic saw something else. To him, it looked like a man-made pyramid, with astonishingly straight sides, perfect orientation to the cardinal points, and a flat top. And once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. Instead of keeping the idea to himself, Osmanagic went public and fast. He claimed that Visočica wasn't just a pyramid, it was the oldest and largest pyramid on the planet. According to him, it predated Egypt's pyramids by tens of thousands of years, stood taller than the Great Pyramid of Giza, and was part of a larger complex of ancient structures hidden beneath the Bosnian landscape. Cue the chaos. Media outlets around the world lit up with the story. Bosnia, hardly known as an archaeological hotspot, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight. The Bosnian pyramids became an international curiosity. Crowds flocked to Visoko, and Osmanagic launched the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, turning the sleepy town into a buzzing excavation zone. But the buzz wasn't all positive. Almost immediately, mainstream archaeologists and geologists pushed back hard. Many called the claim ridiculous, pseudoscientific, and even dangerous. They said Osmanagic was seeing patterns in natural hills, nothing more. To them, this was a classic case of pareidolia, seeing shapes where none exist. Others accused him of drumming up a fantasy to boost tourism and national pride. Yet, despite the backlash, Osmanagic didn't back down. Excavations began. Tunnels were cleared. Claims kept getting bolder. And something strange started happening. More and more independent researchers, mystics, tourists, and even a few open-minded scientists began to take interest. So, what exactly is going on in Visoko? Are we really talking about ancient pyramids hidden in the Balkans? Or is this just one big, perfectly shaped misunderstanding? Let's take a closer look. The pyramids that shouldn't exist. If the claims about the Bosnian pyramids are true, then we're not just looking at an archaeological curiosity. We're looking at a discovery so big it shouldn't even be possible. That's because these structures, according to Semir Osmanagic and his team, break every rule in the book of known human history. Let's start with the crown jewel, the Pyramid of the Sun. Rising an estimated 722 feet, 220 meters, above the surrounding landscape, the Pyramid of the Sun is, if man-made, taller than the Great Pyramid of Giza by a full 240 feet. That alone is mind-blowing. But it doesn't stop there. The pyramid's 4 triangular sides are said to be perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions, just like the pyramids in Egypt. Satellite imagery and drone footage show astonishing symmetry. something you don't expect from a regular hill. And it's not alone. According to Osmanagic's team, this is just one of 5 colossal structures in the Visoko Valley. There's the Pyramid of the Moon, Pyramid of the Dragon, Pyramid of Love, and the Temple of Mother Earth. All are said to form a sacred geometric layout, with exact angles and distances between them, hinting at some kind of master plan, something deliberate and intelligent. Let's pause there, because that's already enough to raise an eyebrow. How could an ancient European civilization, one supposedly existing before the Sumerians, build such massive and mathematically precise structures? No records exist of such a civilization. No tools, no written language, no other monuments. If these pyramids are real, where's the rest of the culture? That's where things get weirder. Osmanagic claims that the Pyramid of the Moon, the second largest in the complex, is built from terraced layers of sandstone and clay, which he says are ancient construction materials. His team has published photos of what appear to be flat, rectangular stone blocks, stacked in a way that looks man-made. He says they've found artificial concrete used in parts of the pyramid complex. Concrete, he claims, is stronger and more water-resistant than modern-day equivalents. And it's not just about size or materials. The orientation and location of the pyramids are what really have some people convinced this isn't just natural geology playing tricks. Researchers who support the theory point out that the pyramids are precisely aligned with true north, with even greater accuracy than the Great Pyramid of Giza. The layout of the structures matches celestial formations, such as Orion's belt and the Pleiades, suggesting astronomical knowledge. Their positions form perfect equilateral triangles, hinting at sacred geometry used in their construction. Skeptics argue that all of this can be explained by natural formations and confirmation bias. Hills can take on symmetrical shapes. Layers of rock can split into flat surfaces. Humans are great at seeing patterns, especially when we want to. But here's the catch. No one really knows for sure. Mainstream geologists who've surveyed the area say these hills are just that. Natural formations shaped by erosion and tectonic movement. Some say Osmanagic and his followers are misinterpreting natural geological features as artificial ones. But if they're natural, they're very conveniently shaped. And if they're artificial, that means someone built massive, geometrically precise, astronomically aligned pyramids in the middle of Europe, thousands of years before the first known civilizations even existed. That's not just impossible. That's history-breaking. What's really going on here? To find out, we have to go deeper, literally, because beneath the surface of these pyramids lies a network of tunnels, chambers, and strange energy phenomena that might hold the biggest clues yet. Underground labyrinths and strange energies. If the pyramids above ground in Visoko are mysterious, what lies beneath them takes things to a whole new level. Just outside the town, tucked beneath what's claimed to be the Pyramid of the Sun, lies a vast underground tunnel system known as the Ravni Tunnels. At first glance, they look like narrow, carved passages you'd expect in an old mine, but as researchers began exploring deeper, it became clear that this place wasn't just some leftover hole in the ground. It was something much bigger and way more confusing. According to Semir Osmanagic and his team, these tunnels weren't formed by natural erosion or modern hands. They believe the entire labyrinth was deliberately carved out tens of thousands of years ago by a forgotten civilization, perhaps the same one that supposedly built the pyramids. The tunnels stretch for hundreds of meters, maybe even miles, though a full mapping has never been completed. Each year, Volunteers and researchers open up more sections, and every time they do, the mystery grows. The air down there is one of the first things people notice. It's unusually fresh. Even deep inside the Earth, the oxygen levels remain high and steady. That's strange in itself, and it's led some to speculate that the tunnels were designed with advanced knowledge of ventilation, airflow, or even energy manipulation. And that's just the beginning. One of the most controversial aspects of the Ravne tunnels is the claim that they emit strange energy fields. Visitors often report odd sensations, tingling in the skin, feelings of lightness or euphoria, and even sudden improvements in physical ailments. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but enough people have said it that it's become part of the legend. Osmanagic's team has run tests using electromagnetic sensors and other equipment, claiming to detect unusual frequencies and energy patterns. One recurring claim is the presence of a consistent ultrasound frequency of 28 kilohertz, which they say has beneficial effects on human cells. They've also reported high levels of negative ions, the kind of thing you get in places like waterfalls or forests, often associated with mood improvement and health benefits. And then there's the wildest one, a beam of energy, allegedly shooting straight up from the peak of the Pyramid of the Sun. According to the measurements, this beam is about 4.5 meters wide, pulses at the same 28 kilohertz frequency, and doesn't seem to come from any obvious source. To be clear, mainstream scientists have not verified any of this. In fact, many have dismissed these energy claims outright, suggesting that the readings are misinterpreted, the instruments unreliable, or the methodology flawed. They say there's no hard evidence, just speculation and wishful thinking. Still, that hasn't stopped the steady stream of believers, researchers, healers, and curious travelers who come from all over the world to experience the tunnels for themselves. Some even claim the Ravne tunnels are healing people. Chronic pain, anxiety, insomnia, you name it. Someone's probably said it got better after spending time down there. It's turned Vizako into an unlikely New Age pilgrimage site, attracting everyone from spiritual seekers to fringe scientists looking to experience the energy firsthand. There are now dedicated meditation chambers inside the tunnels, complete with stone benches and soft lighting, where people lie down for hours, hoping to absorb whatever strange force might be in the air. Critics call it pseudoscience wrapped in tourism, but Osmanagic doesn't back down. He argues that just because something can't be explained by mainstream science today doesn't mean it's not real. He believes modern academia is too rigid, too afraid of rewriting history, and too invested in the current timeline of human civilization to consider that something extraordinary might really be hiding under Bosnia. And maybe that's the biggest question of all. If the tunnels are real, deliberate, and ancient, if these frequencies and forces really do exist, then who built them? What purpose did they serve? And why would an ancient culture carve a massive labyrinth beneath a pyramid-shaped mountain in the middle of Europe? It's not just an archaeological mystery anymore. It's something bigger, part history, part science, part spiritual puzzle. And it's only getting weirder the deeper we go. Scientific evidence or lack thereof. By now, the story of the Bosnian pyramids has gone way beyond a local curiosity. It's international, it's controversial, and it's sparked one of the biggest clashes between mainstream science and fringe theories in recent decades. At the center of it all is a burning question. Where's the actual evidence? From the very beginning, archaeologists, geologists, and historians around the world raised serious red flags. Not just skepticism, but full-on condemnation. Many called Osmanagic's claims nonsense, dangerous pseudoscience, or a complete fabrication. In 2006, just a year after the pyramid announcement went public, the European Association of Archaeologists released an official statement declaring the entire project a hoax. They said the hills were natural. The so-called structures were nothing but standard geological formations, and the digging might even be destroying legitimate archaeological sites nearby. And to be fair, it's not like they didn't have reasons to doubt. Geologists who've studied the area say the formations, especially the flat, layered stones that Osmanagic's team presents as building blocks, are common in sedimentary rock regions. According to them, what looks like carved stone is actually a natural result of geological fracturing, where sandstone layers split along flat plains. The pyramid shape? Just a coincidence of erosion and tectonic activity. It happens all over the world. But here's the problem. That explanation, while logical, doesn't satisfy everyone, especially when you throw in the claims of perfectly aligned cardinal directions, symmetrical geometry, unusual materials, and underground tunnels with high energy readings. The critics say it's all coincidence. The believers say it's too perfect to ignore. Then there's the issue of dating. Osmanagic's team has released radiocarbon dates from organic material found inside the Ravni tunnels, placing some samples at around 30,000 years old. If those numbers are accurate, and that's a big if, it would mean the tunnels, and possibly the pyramids, predate every known advanced human civilization on Earth. That would completely shatter the accepted timeline of human history. But mainstream scientists argue that these results are misleading. The organic material dated may not have anything to do with construction. It could be ancient sediment or plant matter that settled there long before or long after humans had any involvement. In other words, just because something old is found in a tunnel doesn't mean the tunnel itself is that old. To add more fuel to the fire, some independent researchers have come out in support of Osmanagic, or at least in support of keeping the conversation open. Engineers and alternative historians have toured the site and claimed there are too many anomalies to ignore. One material scientist famously tested some of the concrete blocks found on the Pyramid of the Sun and reported that they were harder and more durable than most modern concrete, suggesting artificial production. Still, no peer-reviewed study has officially confirmed this, and that's part of the core issue: lack of peer review. Osmanagic's research is rarely published in established scientific journals. Most of the findings are released through his foundation's website, documentaries, or alternative science conferences. To the scientific community, that's a red flag. To the public, it feels more like a war between elitism and curiosity. So who's right? That depends on who you ask. To mainstream archaeologists, there's simply not enough credible evidence to support the pyramid theory. No ancient tools, no inscriptions, no burial chambers, no cultural artifacts. And that's usually what real pyramids are built around. In their view, if this was really the work of an ancient civilization, there should be more than just shapes and speculation. But to the believers, and there are many, the absence of conventional evidence doesn't close the case. In fact, it opens it. Maybe we're looking at something that predates recorded history entirely. Maybe this was a culture we haven't discovered yet, one whose remains were swallowed by time, war, and natural erosion. Or maybe our tools for understanding the past just aren't good enough yet. What's clear is that the Bosnian pyramids have become a kind of intellectual no-man's land, where science, alternative history, and straight-up mystery collide. One side says there's nothing here but rocks and wishful thinking. The other side says this could be the key to a lost chapter in human history. And somewhere in between sits the rest of us, wondering what's really buried beneath those hills and why the truth is so hard to pin down. What if it's real? Let's just entertain the idea for a minute. What if the Bosnian pyramids are real? Not just pyramid-shaped hills or misunderstood geology, but actual, deliberately constructed, ancient megastructures. What if there really was a lost civilization in Europe, tens of thousands of years ago, capable of building on a scale we typically only associate with Egypt, Mesopotamia, or Mesoamerica? That one what if is enough to send the entire field of archaeology into a tailspin, because if it's real, everything changes. First, we'd have to seriously revisit the accepted timeline of human civilization. According to mainstream history, the first signs of organized societies with writing, architecture, and complex social structures didn't appear until around 6,000 years ago. The Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Indus Valley culture, those are the textbook starters. But Osmanagich's claims suggest these Bosnian pyramids are at least 30,000 years old, which throws that timeline out the window. It would mean humans had not only developed advanced architectural skills long before anyone thought possible, but they were doing it in Neolithic Europe, a place not exactly known for ancient empires. That's the kind of claim that would demand a rewrite of every history book on the planet. And that's also why the idea meets so much resistance. Mainstream science has always been cautious about outlier theories, and for good reason. The academic world depends on verifiable evidence and reproducible results. It's how we separate fact from fiction, hoax from history. But it's also why truly disruptive ideas often get buried or dismissed before they're fully explored. The Bosnian pyramid story sits right in that awkward space, too wild to be accepted without question, too intriguing to ignore completely. Now, if we do assume it's real, a lot of questions start piling up fast. Who built them? Where did that civilization come from? And why did it vanish without leaving a trace? The pyramids themselves might hold the answers, but so far there's no written language, no tools, no graves or carvings, none of the usual signs we'd expect from an ancient society of builders. It's like someone came, built something massive, and disappeared, leaving only stone and speculation behind. Some theorists believe that if such a civilization did exist, it might have been wiped out by a cataclysmic event, a comet impact, massive flooding, or a sudden climate shift, all of which were happening during the late Ice Age. There's growing interest in this idea globally, especially with new evidence of ancient structures turning up in places like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which dates back over 11,000 years, and already shattered the assumption that early humans couldn't build large, complex sites. In that context, the Bosnian pyramids don't sound quite as crazy anymore. Maybe they're not a random anomaly. Maybe they're part of a lost chapter in human history, scattered across the globe and slowly being rediscovered. Another angle to consider is why mainstream institutions might resist this idea so strongly. Beyond the lack of hard evidence, there's also a built-in fear of academic disruption. If someone like Osmanagich, an outsider with no formal background in archaeology, were proven right, it would shake the credibility of the entire field. Careers, reputations, and institutions are built on certain historical narratives being true. Changing those narratives isn't just inconvenient, it's threatening. Of course, that doesn't mean there's a conspiracy, but it does mean that radical ideas face a higher burden of proof, and the Bosnian pyramids haven't quite crossed that line yet. Still, that question lingers. What if it's all real? What if the tunnels, the energy fields, the giant stone blocks, and the perfectly aligned slopes are pieces of something we've completely misunderstood? It would mean humanity's story is much older, more complex, and maybe more advanced than we've ever imagined. And maybe, just maybe, we've only scratched the surface. But the story isn't just about stones and science. These pyramids have also changed lives and transformed a whole community. Tourism, transformation, and believers. Whether you believe the Bosnian pyramids are real or just an elaborate natural coincidence, there's no denying the impact they've had on the small town of Visoko. Before 2005, Visoko was a quiet, somewhat forgotten spot in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Now, it's become a bustling hub for curious tourists, spiritual seekers, and alternative history buffs from all over the globe. Osmanagic's pyramid claims triggered a surge of international attention, and with it, a wave of visitors eager to experience the mystery firsthand. People come to hike the pyramid slopes, explore the Ravne tunnels, meditate in the so-called healing chambers, or just soak up the vibes. The local economy, once struggling, has seen a remarkable boost thanks to this influx of pyramid tourism. Hotels, cafes, souvenir shops, and tour companies have sprung up seemingly overnight, all catering to a mix of believers and skeptics alike. And whether they're here for spiritual experiences or just to check out the world's largest pyramid, visitors fuel a steady buzz around Visoko year-round. The pyramid phenomenon has also transformed the local community. Some residents are proud ambassadors, embracing the global spotlight and sharing their town's unique story. Others remain skeptical or cautious, worried about the environmental impact of excavation or the spread of misinformation. Still, most acknowledge that the pyramids, real or not, have put Visoko on the map in a way no one expected. But the impact goes beyond just tourism. The site has become a spiritual pilgrimage for many. New Age travelers and wellness enthusiasts come here searching for healing, enlightenment, or a connection to something bigger. Workshops, retreats, and meditation sessions happen regularly, centered on the energy and mystery the pyramids supposedly emit. People swear by the transformative power of spending time on the pyramid slopes or inside the tunnels. This blend of archaeology, tourism, and spirituality creates a unique vibe that's hard to ignore. For believers, Visoko is a place where history and mystery collide, where science and spirit intersect, and where the past still hums with energy. For skeptics, it's a fascinating case study in how stories and symbols can reshape a place. Either way, the Bosnian pyramids have changed more than just the landscape. They've transformed a community, a region, and a conversation about our past. The critics and the supporters. Who's who? When it comes to the Bosnian pyramids, the debate is as much about people as it is about stones. On one side, you have a passionate group of supporters, archaeologists turned adventurers, alternative historians, New Age spiritualists, and curious tourists who are convinced something extraordinary is going on. On the other, there's a chorus of critics made up mainly of mainstream archaeologists, geologists, and scientists who call the whole thing a mistake, or, worse, a deliberate hoax. The supporters come in all shapes and sizes. Some are drawn by the promise of rewriting human history, others by the spiritual energy reportedly felt at the site. They point to the pyramid's size, alignment, underground tunnels, and strange energy readings as compelling evidence. Many see Osmanagic as a visionary, a guy willing to challenge the establishment and uncover hidden truths. There are engineers who swear by the unusual construction materials, and then there are the everyday visitors whose experiences of healing and peace in the tunnels fuel the legend. Meanwhile, the critics remain staunch. They argue that the pyramids are simply natural hills with common geological features. To them, Osmanagic's claims ignore solid geological research. and the tunnels are old mining shafts or natural caves. They worry that the sensationalism surrounding the site distracts from real archaeological work in the region and might even damage genuine historical artifacts. Many have openly criticized Osmanagic for a lack of scientific rigor and peer-reviewed evidence. The European Association of Archaeologists even labeled the whole project pseudo-archaeology. But this clash isn't just about facts, it's about worldview. Supporters accuse critics of being close-minded or too wedded to current academic paradigms. Critics accuse supporters of cherry-picking data and letting wishful thinking override good science. It's a classic battle between skepticism and wonder. And there's something to be said for both sides. The scientific method demands proof. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and without that, skepticism is healthy. But on the flip side, history has shown us that sometimes the crazy ideas are the ones that push knowledge forward. So who's right? Maybe neither side has the full picture yet. The truth could lie somewhere in between, part natural, part man-made, part mystery. Either way, the Bosnian pyramids continue to spark debate, curiosity, and a healthy dose of wonder. And that's exactly what keeps this story alive. The next chapter of the Bosnian pyramids. What's next for the Bosnian pyramids? After nearly 2 decades of heated debate, excavation, and tourism, the story is far from over. Whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in the middle, it's clear that Visoko and its mysterious hills have sparked something bigger than just local curiosity. For starters, Osmanagic and his team continue their work, digging deeper into the tunnels, scanning the pyramid slopes, and searching for new clues. They're bringing in advanced technology, 3D mapping, ground-penetrating radar, and energy field detectors, trying to piece together a puzzle that still refuses to fully reveal itself. New discoveries, if verified, could shift the entire conversation. Meanwhile, more scientists and researchers are showing cautious interest. Some are proposing collaborative studies, hoping to bring rigorous methods to the investigation without dismissing it outright. This could be a game-changer. Opening the door to more objective, peer-reviewed research would either confirm the extraordinary claims or provide clearer explanations grounded in geology and history. Tourism isn't slowing down either. Visoko is becoming a permanent destination for those intrigued by mysteries, ancient history, and spiritual experiences. The local government has started investing in infrastructure, improving access, while trying to balance preservation with public interest. At the same time, there's a growing push to protect the site. Excavation methods have sometimes been criticized for damaging fragile areas, so future efforts will likely be more careful and regulated. Preserving the tunnels, the pyramid shapes, and the surrounding environment is crucial if Visoko is to remain a place for discovery and wonder. And then there's the bigger question. What if new evidence turns up? If definitive proof emerges that these hills really are man-made pyramids built by an ancient civilization, it would send shockwaves through the world's understanding of history. Museums, textbooks, and research institutes would have to rethink human origins and achievements. Suddenly, Bosnia would sit alongside Egypt, Mexico, and Peru as the site of one of humanity's greatest architectural marvels. For now, though, the Bosnian pyramids remain a tantalizing mystery, half legend, half science, and full of potential. They invite us to keep questioning, exploring, and imagining what might be just beneath the surface of our history. Whether you visit for the energy, the adventure, or just the story, one thing is certain. The pyramids of Bosnia have a future as fascinating as their past. What do we make of the Bosnian pyramids? Are they ancient monuments built by a lost civilization, natural hills shaped by geology, or something in between? The truth is, no one really knows for sure. What started as a bold claim has turned into a global mystery that challenges our ideas about history, science, and belief. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, one thing is clear. These pyramids have captured the imagination of people around the world. They've transformed a quiet town into a hot spot for discovery, healing, and debate. They've sparked fierce arguments, but also inspired curiosity and wonder. Two things every great mystery needs. Maybe the real pyramid isn't the stone and earth themselves, but the questions they raise about who we are, where we come from, and how much we still have to learn. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries aren't just about answers. They're about keeping the conversation alive. Next time you hear about the Bosnian pyramids, don't just dismiss or accept. Dig a little deeper, stay curious, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find a piece of history that's still waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for watching the entire video. Subscribe for more interesting stories and content in the channel.